Good afternoon and welcome back to Asgard and welcome back to Infitech 2. Just a heads up, the audio didn't record for this video, so I'm having to go back and retroactively do the audio. So if anything's out of place, I apologize. But I've been pretty busy since the last episode, a lot of building, a lot of prep work. This episode, you'll see I've got some compressed iron rods being crafted with the extruder. I've also got the structure here in the middle of the room, and then if we pop down here, if we look around, you'll see that I've actually started building out this floor a lot. A lot of laboratory blocks. So, by the way, this is going to be our fluid room. So I'm probably going to end up moving all this stuff, but for right now I didn't want to just break it apart and have to re-put it all together, so I'm just leaving it as is for now, and then down the road we'll kind of replace everything for aesthetics and whatnot. And also just a heads up, this episode will be split into two parts because of the length. The first part we're going to mainly be covering the pneumatics elevator. The second part we will be covering pneumatics upgrades and stabilizing our system for higher air pressure and air volume. Down here, if we take a look, you'll see the quarry's been running. I'm probably going to end up adding a second drone just to kind of speed it up, but it is going at a decent rate so far. It just takes that one drone a little while to, chunk through all that stuff. And then if we pop up here, let's go take a look at the cobble gen and see where we're at on that. So we've got 6 septuple compressed, and then no. All right, there we go. It's kind of working its way. I guess we just got that septuple done, but yeah, mainly just a whole lot of building, a whole lot of prep, and also moving stuff into the applied energetics system. I did do quite a bit of that. I think it's 4 storage drives now. So definitely a bit of progress on there. I can't remember if I showed that off. Everything that I've got moved over here. I was trying to hurry because I knew we had a lot to cover with the pneumatics elevator and all the upgrades and the modules and stuff like that, and I wanted to jump right into it, and still ended up being like 50 minutes, so that's why I went ahead and split it in 2, because I try not to put out like the super long episodes if I can avoid it, but I know some people like them, but I figure some people may not, so I just try to keep them around 30 minutes. I'm just not the best at it yet, so I apologize about that. But anyway, so we're going to be, right now we're just going to be setting up the elevator to run from this basement floor to the first floor. Mainly just because I haven't got the upper levels built out yet and everything. So, but we'll get to that fairly soon. And eventually we may try to set up some kind of a system to have some doors that shut if the elevator's not there and you have to call it to open the doors. Also, the aerial interface, we'll probably end up getting to that. I was actually looking at the recipe right here, and it's actually not as bad as I was expecting it to be with GregTech, and the aerial interface can honestly be extremely, extremely useful. So we may figure out a good way to set that up and get that running, because for those of you that don't know, the aerial interface is going to basically any items that are pumped into it are instead pumped into your inventory. So you can, no matter where you're at, you can accept items. So we may try to set up some kind of a really nice system for that as well. But yeah, so right here we're going to be upgrading all of this later on, all the tubes, all the everything, and basically making it a lot stronger system, upgrading the compressors, upgrading the tubes, upgrading all the machines with more volume, and all that good stuff. But let's see, let's go ahead and take a look here at the, I don't know, I'm not sure where I'm headed. Let's get the compressed iron rods. Let's go ahead and grab those. I'm going to go ahead and pull the ingots out. I don't know for sure that we'll need that many elevator frames. So the elevator base is fairly easy to craft. We just need some gray plastic and then those cylinders. I went ahead and prepped a lot of stuff for this episode, all the basic stuff to craft, just because we did have a whole lot to cover this episode. So just a heads up on that. But these elevator bases, elevator frames and stuff. We'll kind of craft them because that's the main focus here in the first half. But for those of you that don't know, the Pneumatic Elevator is amazing. It's probably one of my favorite elevator blocks in the game, like for any mod. So just because it's very fitting as an elevator, it sounds like an elevator and everything. So we'll pop our plastic in here and our elevator base, or our cylinders, I mean, and get our elevator bases crafted. And these do craft 2 at a time. I'm actually making an excess amount, but we'll end up needing those once we start, adding the additional floors and everything. Because basically each of these elevator bases, for every one that you have stacked on top of each other, they're going to add an additional 4 to the maximum height that it can go up. So, if I have just the 4 here, we could go from the first floor down to the basement and vice versa. But to actually access additional floors, we're going to need more elevator bases. So, I'm going to go ahead and mark where we're moving to. Right next to it, actually, because we're going to end up connecting right underneath that monitor. But we'll put it right there, and that way we can see, when we're underground, where we need to actually dig to set up our pipes. So, let's see. Also, it slipped my mind for a second. I was just thinking of it. Anyway, we'll go ahead and dig on down here, and we're going to go ahead and set up a few of these elevator frames just so that we've got them in place for when we need them. And the way the elevator works, it's going to use air pressure for each line of bases. So if you have, say, 20 bases stacked on top of each other, it's not going to use 20 times the air pressure. But instead what it's going to do is it's going to use so much air pressure per block that you move. But if you have, say, an elevator that's 2x2, it's going to use additional air pressure when you move up because, it's got 4 different block lines that are moving. But for right now, we'll go ahead and just plug this. I'm not going to plug it directly into the line just yet because we'll end up losing pressure. So we'll go ahead and set it right here. And then once we're ready, we'll just, make that plug real quick. And you can actually pump this air pressure into any elevator base. So if you have like a 2x2, you don't need to plug it into all 4 elevator bases. You can just plug it into one of them that's on the side, and it's going to share that air pressure across, all the connected bases. And it's also going to share pressure vertically as well to all the elevator bases that are stacked on top of one another. So we'll go ahead and get this laid out just like that, and basically we'll just keep digging down. Now I am probably going to move this down later on. I can't get out of there because we can't go down into the basement because that's where all of our like steam generation and stuff is, but I'm not in too much of a rush to get that set up simply because we don't go down there all that much. And actually right here I'm trying to figure out whereabouts to find how many blocks the bases move, because I couldn't remember if it was 4 or 8. It is 4. I did double check it, but I couldn't find it on the in-game documentation, so I had to go onto the wiki really quick to make sure and get that information correct for you guys. So anyway, I'll be back in just a second once I find the information. All right, welcome back. So like I said, it is 4 blocks that it can travel. So if we stack that, that's 8. Stack that, that's 12 that it can move up. And you're also, in addition to these, of course, this is going to be 4 per elevator base that's stacked on top of each other, but you're also going to need frames, and for each frame, that's going to increase the height by 1. So basically, anywhere that you want the elevator to travel to, you actually need to put down elevator frames. So, we'd have to run them up to that first floor. Now, you wouldn't have to go above it. Basically, you just need to cover where the base is going to travel. So, but we'll get into that in just a second. Now, I did try doing the camouflage block, and the camouflage block for some reason is not working with chisel blocks. Now, I recall in the past actually using the carpet that I had prepped for this episode, but for some reason I don't know if it's the texture pack or if it's related to just the mod compatibility all of a sudden just being out of whack. I don't know, but for some reason I was not able to use the chiseled carpets or the laboratory blocks, because I tried just testing it with the laboratory blocks and that did not work either. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get these iron rods in here, and you're also going to need an integrated circuit 4. So I've already got one of those ready to go. We'll throw that in there and we'll get the elevator frames crafting. So these only craft one at a time, which when I first started prepping for the episode, I pulled out those compressed irons, and yeah, we're actually going to need more of those. We're going to need a lot of those long-term wise, because it's 4 rods per frame. So very, very expensive. But at least at the end of the day, it's just iron, so it's not that big of a deal. So let's go ahead and grab a few of these here. And that one's just about done. There we go. And so we will go ahead and set these up. And I'm not entirely sure why occasionally my volume doesn't, or my audio doesn't record. I may end up getting a different software to record my audio and using it in tandem with my video recorder. I don't know, because it's kind of driving me insane. But anyway, we're going to run these up, and like I said, you need to run these up to where the frame, or where the base is going to go. So we're just going to run it straight up to floor level on the first floor here. And we'll bring this out, or actually I guess it's the second floor technically. I think later on I end up calling it the first floor, but anyway, that's okay. And we're going to go ahead and fill this in. You need a block in each airspace above the elevator frame, or elevator base. I'm sorry, I keep calling it frame. But you do need a frame atop each of those bases in each available air block up to where you're traveling to. So now that we got that set up, the next thing that we are going to need is the elevator collar, which basically, I don't know what in the hell I'm doing right here. I can't remember what I'm talking about. Like I said, I have to retroactively record all of this, which is, it's actually kind of tough. I'm not all that experienced with it. But anyhow, let's see. Let's go get the rest of the elevator, or the iron rods, right? Now, we're going to make the controller. So we need 4 white plastic and 4 brown plastic, and then a bit of molten redstone for each elevator collar. So let's go ahead and get the plastic, and we're going to go ahead and make 2 of these. Now, eventually, just covering these 2 floors, I'm going to need 4, because I want one on the exterior and one on the interior. You know, able to access the elevator, because it just looks a lot better. So I've still got to figure out how I'm going to lay it out and everything as far as the collars go. Alright, and let's get this crafting. And we've got just enough redstone in here for 2 of these, because it's 144 per. And we'll get that going. Alright. And while that's running, let's go over here. And I was talking about if you have your controller set up, and you can select different floors. We'll get into that in a second, but basically it's gonna come up whenever you call it and whatnot. And we'll go ahead and set that down so that we can move over there. I'm gonna probably eventually add in some doors so that maybe they open and close with like maybe a redstone setup. So that way we can kind of have it closed off if the elevator is not called, and so then we can call it and it'll raise. But we'll get to that, down the road and everything. Now, also, another note about these elevator callers and the elevator itself, you can actually control these with either the elevator caller or you can also control them with redstone. So, but honestly, I would suggest the elevator caller generally because it's just a lot more, a lot easier to set up. However, if you want your elevator to be autonomously controlled, maybe for like item movement and stuff, you can do that with a redstone pulse as well. So just keep that in mind. But alright, our controller, our collar should be done now. So we'll grab that and get this stuff in place. So I think we'll go ahead and just put it right here. And you'll see that it displays a 1 that stands for first floor. And then we'll hop down here and we'll add in the next collar, and we'll put it, say, right here. And now we have 2 that are displayed 1, but we can go in and we can rename those, so that's not a big issue. Let's see. Over here, let's go ahead and connect up our advanced pressure tube so we can get that go ahead and filling up with air in the elevator. And let's see, that's filling up, and now if we click on this, we can see the air pressure that's rising within the elevator, and we can also see the maximum extension. Now you'll note that it's 4 even though we have 12 worth of elevator bases, but that's because the frames, of course, we only allocated 4 to it, so that automatically makes the max height 4. And eventually, if we add more frames up there, we can go up to 12 with this, but we'll end up adding probably 10 frames, I'm betting, by the time we're done. That's generally the way it works for me. But we can go in here and we can actually change out the names. So we can say this is first floor. Sounds good for now. We'll probably end up changing that eventually, but for now it works. And if we right click on here, we should be able to, for some reason we can't change over to the second floor at this point. I'm not entirely sure what caused that, but you'll notice that it's just floor 1 on each of these. Alright. And we can't click on that one. Let's go ahead and grab that. Alright. Still trying to figure out. It's really difficult for me to do this. to narrate it retroactively like that. But alright, so we can hit 1 and it's going to travel up to the first floor now, or the other floor, I guess, technically. And then let's see, if we come over here and we hit B1 now, it's going to travel down and we can access it. And now we can actually tab through and see the different names and stuff, because for some reason until we traveled up there we weren't able to. Alright, and so we'll call this floor 2 will be first floor. Yep, sounds good. And so we have the B1 and the first floor, which technically I need to change that because it's actually we're still above ground at this point. But since it's turned away, let's go ahead and actually, I think, change that because it's really not in a convenient spot at the moment. That's why I need to get another collar set up, and one for the outside use and one for the inside use. And by the way, guys, I do apologize that this episode's coming out a bit late. By the way, you can't put those on corners. You have to put them, directly attached to your frames. But anyway, I apologize this episode's coming out late. I actually had a lot of issues during the process. First up, I think it was just cursed today. But if you notice, by the way, it did rise when we clicked the collar, and we'll go ahead and switch those around. But and you'll notice the it goes down at a fairly decent speed, but I'll show you guys how to upgrade that. But anyway, I had right here these speed upgrades. They're fairly easy to craft, but you can just put these into the upgrade slots, and you need to do it equally, and I'll show you what happens if you don't do them equally. And I'll get to my reasons as to why we're late in just a minute. But if you notice, this one panel goes up extremely fast, and the others can't keep up with it, and that other one just couldn't even go up. It's just a big mess if it's not balanced. So what we'll do is do 3 of these in each, and you can do quite a bit of these. I think you can go up to 15, maybe more, I don't know. I think that's the most I've ever done. But honestly, I find that 3 is like the perfect speed for me. I love the rate that it moves up and down right there. I love the sound of this elevator. It's just when it's configured correctly, it's the perfect elevator, I think. So that's pretty much how to set that up. And by the way, the reason that this is late is because, first off, last night I didn't budget time for sleep, and I actually kind of just passed out at my desk and kind of woke up with my head on the desk and everything, and just I was out of it, and just from being up too long, I think. And right here, the camouflage blocks aren't working. The chiseled ones aren't working. So, but I will show you how to set that up in just a second. But also, then today I had to go meet the people that are renting to buy my my house, and to get like the monthly payment, and I locked my keys in the car. Luckily, I was at Walmart and was able to go inside and get a hanger and get the door open and everything. And then on top of that, of course, I got home and I was working on getting everything prepped to record. Had a little bit of issue. Had to update some stuff on the PC and everything. And then also today I had to quickly hop over to our all the mod server and test a new update with them, because one of the guys was having issues, but I wasn't having the issue, so I had to check that out. And then also, then of course the audio didn't record on this. But if you notice, if we put the camouflage block on there, the top slot is for the elevator base, the bottom slot is for the frames. Now for some reason it's not connecting all the way up on the frames, and I tried multiple cobblestone and it's still not doing it, so I'm not sure why that is, because in the past I've been able to just put the block down there and it's going to fill up all the frames, but for some reason it's not wanting to at the moment. I'm not sure what's causing that, but hopefully we'll figure it out, and if not, we'll maybe just leave them as is. They kind of blend in all right. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep these walls or not. I may change them, but we shall see. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the elevator. Of course, if you guys have any questions with it, as always, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to help you with it. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. We'll probably eventually end up setting up a way. I'm not entirely sure, because I don't think I've ever done it, but we'll set up a way to have doors kind of open and close as you reach the different floors, so that you don't like run off into the pit there. So we'll try to get that set up fairly quickly. And now the next thing that I want to cover is, of course, upgrading our pneumatic system. You're just all around the board, able to hold more air, able to safely hold more air, because that's a key thing. And also increasing volume on machines so that we have a lot higher threshold and everything. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we are going to want to disassemble all of these pipes and trade them out for these advanced pressure tubes. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll be back once I finish that. And I'm actually going to end the first episode here, and we'll move on into the second episode and resume, really setting up the pneumatic system and, making all those upgrades. So I hope you guys join me for part 2, and I hope to see you over there.